What's up, everybody? You may be thinking about selling your home. I mean, you see all the headlines out there with little to no inventory and home prices still escalating way above the asking price. So why not capitalize on the seller's market? And I don't blame you. But is it really the best decision? Today, we're gonna go through some things you really should consider before putting that sign in your yard. And if after watching this video, you feel good about your decision, well then I say go for it. We've got some great videos for you to watch. They can really help you with some really good tips on how to make the most money when you do sell your home. Check out our staging video so you can see the pros and cons of staging your home, as well as our video on how to avoid a bad home inspection, because honestly, that is one of the major reasons why home sale contracts fall apart. So we've got some great tips so you can get in front of it so that won't happen to you. But before we get into the different ways where you can make the most money by selling your home, let's go over the possible downfalls so you can make the most informed decision. So let's dive right in. So the first thing that you really need to consider when selling your home is that it does have certain costs involved. Even though you may be selling your home at a higher price than when you bought it, you still have closing costs and you have to pay taxes on your profits. But here's the good news. If you're married and this is your primary residence and you've lived there 2 out of the last 5 years, and you're filing jointly, you do get a $500,000 tax exemption. If you're single, it's a $250,000 tax exemption. But like I said, it's gotta be your primary residence and you have to live there 2 out of the last 5 years. This exemption is only allowable once every 2 years, and you should always confirm with a professional CPA. Besides the $500,000 or the $250,000 tax exemption, you can add the cost of improvements that you've made to the home. So if you renovated your kitchen or added an addition such as a new bedroom, bathroom, porch, or patio, these could be considered improvements and could also be deducted from your capital gains. Other examples are replacing siding, roof, windows, HVAC, and possibly insulation. Some examples that would not be deductible are painting the interior or exterior house, or some minor aesthetic improvements like changing hardware or filling in holes. But like I said, always check with a professional CPA for clarification. You also have moving costs, and as I mentioned, closing costs, which in my area is about 7.5% of the purchase price. So it's worth taking into account all these expenses before deciding to sell. Now, something worth considering is, could you actually keep your home and rent it out? This is a great way to build up your real estate portfolio. But keep in mind, if you don't live there 2 of the last 5 years as your primary residence, you will lose that tax exemption. So if you are going to keep your home as a rental, you may want to just try it out for a couple of years. See what it feels like to be a landlord, how much it costs to upkeep the home, what exactly the math is on your investment, meaning the rent that's coming in minus your mortgage, HOA if they have one, insurance, and real estate taxes, as well as the upkeep, plus any management fees and inspections that the jurisdiction where you live may require. I don't actually work in rentals, but I do hear my colleagues talk about all the different inspections and regulations involved in renting out property, so just keep that in mind and make sure you're educated. If after 2 years you decide you don't want the hassle, well then go ahead and sell it. But if you wait more than 3 years, so you haven't lived there 2 out of the last 5 years, then you're gonna be out of a rental investment and the capital gains exemption. And we do not want that to happen. If the math does make sense and you enjoy another source of income, then it may be a great investment to keep your home and rent it out. Especially if you bought or refinanced in the last couple years at a super low mortgage interest rate for 30 years. It'll just make that rate of return even sweeter. So let's move on to talking about timing the market, because I hear this a lot and it's a really bad idea. If your motivation is just to try and time the market, you may be severely disappointed. I remember back in 2020 when everyone on YouTube was saying the housing market is crashing, housing market crash. You guys know what I'm talking about. You saw those videos too. By the way, I wasn't one of those people, but you know what I'm talking about. In fact, some of them are still saying the same thing 4 years later. Well, we know what happened next. In 2021, the housing market went crazy. Money was super cheap, so people were selling and everyone was buying. Buyers were getting 3% mortgages or less, and home prices started going through the roof. Then in mid-2022, the Fed started raising interest rates. Once again, people started saying the housing market was going to crash and money started to get really expensive. So people started selling their homes, and rather than buying with those higher interest rates, they started to rent, thinking they sold at the peak of the market and started laughing all the way to the bank. Now we're in 2024, and those people have been renting for the last 2 years, and home prices are even higher than they were in 2022, at least where I am, which is right outside of DC. They spent a lot of money selling their home, thinking they sold at the peak, and rent prices, well, they're only going up. So the bottom line is, don't sell because you think you're timing in the markets. It's not a good reason, and you may end up regretting it. On to another reason why you may not want to sell your home. This can be a very touchy subject, and that has to do with your family. A lot of people right now are just holding on to their homes and then passing them on to their kids. I mean, it's expensive to buy a home, so it seems like a great way to build generational wealth by just passing the home down to your kids. But the problem comes when there is more than one child and they don't agree on what to do with the house. I've seen this happen several times, and it is always ugly. The parents thought they were doing a really good thing, and ultimately it ends up causing more problems than if they just sold the house and then allocated money towards each child in their estate. So it's just something to think about before deciding if you want to sell or not. Honestly, there are probably pros and cons to both sides of the argument of whether or not to keep it and then give it to your kids, or to sell it, take the money, and then allocate that money as you want. If you do decide you do want to sell in this market, please, 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 I'm begging you, do yourself a favor, make sure the house looks really good, price it right. It's a very mixed market out there, and I'm seeing houses sell way above the asking price, but I am also seeing homes sit on the market, sometimes in the same neighborhood, week after week, getting price reductions because the house doesn't show well and it's overpriced. Buyers will not buy into greedy sellers. If you want to get the most money in this market, in my opinion, you need to price your house below where the last comps escalated to. So the buyers see the value, and if they start to compete, well, then they will escalate the price on your home as well. There are certain tips, like I said at the beginning of this video, that you can do to sell your house for the most money. So definitely check out those videos next. And if you are in the DC area, in DC, Maryland, or Northern Virginia, and you'd like us to come by and take a look at your house and discuss the different strategies of selling your home and maybe why you shouldn't sell your home, we're happy to do that. Just send us an email, we'll set up an appointment, and we'll come by. Thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. Bye!